Hi everyone, welcome back to Muscular Developments. My name is Lauren Lotte. I am your host, and today I am joined with my friend Christine Fox, NPC amateur, bikini, and bikini pro in the UK, Miss Christine Fox.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So this is the first time Miss Foxy has been on the show, and I've known Christine for a few years now, which has been really amazing. We actually had the same coach many years ago, and somehow we've managed to reconnect and also learn more about each other over the last couple of years, which has been great. But today we want to talk to you guys about debunking stage myths when it comes to the female category, specifically for bikini, and a little bit on wellness, because that is where, you know, you have competed in for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've done bikini in a number of federations, so NPC more recently. I started off doing things like Pure Elite and Miami Pro. Then I did PCA. I won the British Championship there, and then moved to NPC so I could compete internationally was the main aim for that. Yeah.
So it's really different. Your whole competing history, obviously different federations. Mm-hmm. We've also done them from the modeling side. Yep. And so you come from like I would say performer, but you also have this really interesting background story of being this full-time accountant.
Yes, I am an accountant and chartered tax advisor. So I work as a senior tax manager now for many, many years. So yes, I'm a geek as well. But yeah, I don't have the conventional, PT or fitness background, although, being in this, you obviously got an interest. I did have a science degree, like chemistry and biology. So I found kind of bodybuilding a bit like an experiment with my own body, I think. So I think that's why I enjoyed it, and the science behind it as well. And the nutrition and things like that I always found interesting. So there's like a loose link there. But yeah, I'm a corporate person by day.
Corporate person by day, bikini rock star by night.
Indeed.
But with all of this being said, Christine's done like loads of shows and all the different federations. You've learned from each of them as you've sort of come in and you've been doing all of this. And now going into NPC, would you say it's like really different to any other federation that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I started doing NPC back in 2018, so it had only really first come to the UK then. So I think even from 2018 to 2023, it has progressed and developed like at a mad pace since then. So it's hard to compare federations because it was a while ago when I was doing them, but I think they've all upped their game a lot. The standard has gone mad. The number of competitors, the quality of the competitors, the standard of the performances, the posing, everything is so much more polished at an amateur level now. And I think, people who are amateur now are like the pros of 5 years ago, if you know what I mean. It really, every federation has upped its game a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely increased the standard. And specifically with NPC, as you and I have both competed in NPC. So you've been doing it since 2018. I have been doing it since 2020, but I've only done 3 shows. So I'm like still getting there. Okay, you guys. But I want to get Christine in today because I really want to talk to her about debunking some of the NPC stage myths. And you have this experience of competing on NPC stages, not just here in the UK, but also internationally. And this is why I want to talk to you about it, because I think that this would be really helpful for other bikini ladies and even wellness competitors that are entering and that are looking to sort of enter the categories, and just to kind of ask or get those questions answered that maybe you don't always know where to go to. So I'm going to ask Christine some of the questions, and I'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's jump straight into the first one, and we're going to be talking about hair. Okay, hair length. Yes. Does it matter? Does it not matter? And why?
I actually think it does matter in the federations like the NPC. There is a consistency of look, and I think some people can get away with a different look, but you want to stand out for your physique and not because you look different. And also because, particularly in that federation, they really aren't judging the back. And, it's when you're lean as well, it's an area that can stand out as being overly lean. You can sometimes see, shoulder blades, or alternatively, at the bottom of your back, you may have a bit of crease or fat or something. That alternatively, there's few things that the hair can hide and actually create a shape. Like the PCA, they actually want to see the back development. So there, I think, you know, short hair might help because you don't have to keep moving it around and getting distracted and tangled up in it all the time. But yeah, I think it helps have the judges have a consistent view of what all the competitors look like, and they're not saying, oh, I can see that lady's back, but it's great, but I don't need to think about it. And it helps the judges have a consistent view of the candidates on stage.
Do you think also, because you've been coached by someone American in the past, do you think that the hair also helps with the display of the physique from the back?
I think if you have the right hair, it does. I know my coach was very, very hot on the hair length and cut. So, you know, it can be a detriment. And I've done it myself before. Like I've just gone for the, you know, long hair extensions and ended up, you know, in the photos from the back, just looking like a column because it's actually, you know, not been tapered in. It's actually, I wasn't able to demonstrate the width of my waist from the back. So it actually hid my physique and wasn't a great style, even though, you know, I had the long hair. But I think it is important that it's, you know, shaped so you can kind of get the shoulders and actually just see that little bit of waist, and it's not, you know, touching the glutes and distracting. And
yeah, definitely. So I'd say like maybe just cut it the midway points, and if you've got long hair, it's a bit sad, but if you're willing to cut it or just scoop it in, then
yeah, I've been for a few pre-show trims, you know, like had to find a hairdresser in Poland and things to just you know, trim the hair a bit, you know, get an inch off that hair, etc. So
that's a lot of hair actually when you think about it, like especially. But then when it comes to hair again, in terms of color, there is this myth that I think a lot of people would say dark hair wins shows more than blonde hair or sort of light hair. Do you think that is true?
No, I don't think it necessarily matters. I think just perhaps the general population of people, there are more brunettes than blonde people. I think what is important is you have a hair color that actually suits you and looks natural to you, and actually that it complements your skin and your suit and everything. I've been both blonde and brunette on stage, so I have experienced both sides. And I think the difficulty is if you have a hair color that's kind of neither, and the tan is so dark, it doesn't really stand out in any capacity. For everyday life, it looks great, but when it's all the same color as your skin, it's difficult. But when I was blonde, I did find it difficult with the tan because it rubs off on the hair. So, you know, by the end of the day, you feel like the bottom of your hair is like stained and not as neat as it could be, and it's hard to keep. I've found blonde hair shiny. I think dark hair sometimes shines a bit better on stage, and they want that look that is, you know, a healthy, you know, that you're like the picture of health, you know, your glowing hair and skin and everything. And I think dark hair is easier to look shiny sometimes on stage. Not necessarily anything wrong with blonde, but I think that's maybe the reason.
Well, I've never had blonde hair on stage. I don't think that's anything I will do ever, because I just want to go. For me personally, like when you mention about the skin tone and just about everything, I think you have to play to. So what would work naturally for you when you were born, that's sort of the color palette that you have naturally. So to deviate away from something like that can actually do you a bit of a disservice. Please make sure that you look at your styling on that. And then again, to go with just hair, and one of the things that I have seen recently, and this was in the USA,
right?
And this was for the first time, like, I don't know if you know Daraja Hill. So Daraja Hill is this amazing IFBB bikini pro, and when she actually first competed, she had basically her natural hair, which was shaved, and we've seen that with a few other bikini ladies too. And I actually do like the look. I think if you naturally like that, it's a great look.
Yeah, I think it is like what we're saying with the hair color. If it is very natural to you and it looks like it suits you and it's natural, then that's what it's about, isn't it? Presenting your style. You know, I think when we were talking about the blonde hair, it's very hard for a lot of people to have the really bright blonde hair and under the stage lights as well. That's not like going yellow sometimes, because it does sometimes affect it. But yeah, the natural hair again, it is making like a big comeback. You know, there's all sorts of ranges of hair. You know, Phoebe's started to have her natural curls as opposed from the long straight hair. So it is embracing more and more styles. But again, it is about what suits that person, and not, you know, getting a short haircut because that's now in vogue, or extensions because that's now in vogue. But most women will look good with, I guess, longish, typical hair on stage.
So you guys, that is the hair. Keep it, I guess, consistent. And also, like, I would say keep it mainly one color, or like highlights are fine, but just keep it, instead of going for red or like the really bright blues and purples and pinks, maybe don't do it. That's what I think with hair. But then I want to ask Christine another question. This time I'm going to move on to the body. And this is really something that I'm going to move on to. It's mainly to do with tattoos. So here in the UK, we have other federations, and basically they have specific tattooed categories whereby the individual is judged for actually having tattoos on their body. And that's really a unique kind of category. But in the NPC, we don't have that category, and everyone is judged on the same sort of criteria. Do you think it matters if a person has a lot of tattoos, or large tattoos, or just tattoos all over?
No, I think tattoos are becoming like so much more common in men and women competitors nowadays. I remember when I first started, a lot of people actually used to cover up their tattoos and get special services from the tanning people to do tattoo cover up, because it just like, I don't know if it wasn't allowed or just wasn't seen to be acceptable on stage, in some federations anyway. But now I think there's just like, I think the majority of people have got some sort of tattoo. I actually don't have a tattoo, but a lot of people do. I don't think it's detrimental at all. A lot of the tattoos, when you've got the tan on, they're not that noticeable anyway. I think the only time I would perhaps err on the side of caution is if you've got something like really large and dominating, you know, perhaps like all down your thigh, and it's difficult to see if you've got the separation or the muscular development, because it's kind of, you know, if you're in a category where you need to see if you've got, you know, feathered quads or whatever, and it's difficult for the judges to pick out that detail because you've got a big block colour on your leg, then that can be a detriment. But I think the majority of categories and the majority of tattoos are quite tasteful and aren't really, it's not something it's ever drawn my attention when I've watched a show.
Well, let me ask it to you in a different way. Do you think it matters then for Bikini Olympia winner to have tattoos? Because every Miss Bikini Olympia winner has not had a tattoo.
That's quite interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know if they'd had one or just nothing that visible.
Well, if they do, they hide it really well.
Yeah, they maybe get those cover-up services you were talking about before. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know what the Bikini Olympia judges are really going for with that, or whether it's just coincidence, you know, and those girls maybe are cautious that they don't, you know, they've got so far in their careers and they've started at a young age, and they don't then want to risk it with a tattoo, and they've just not gone that way. I think it'd be interesting to see as things develop, you know, tattoos are becoming more popular, and as more people come through the ranks with them that are getting to the pro league, whether you then see that it matters.
Well, I know my personal preference. I have 2 tattoos, okay, but they're really small. Mm-hmm. So one is on my hip. It's like this big, and it's an sign, which I guess is a religious sign, which means I should probably actually cover that up. I was going through a hippie phase, and it was chicken soup. I was going through my phase, and it was great. And then I also have a foot tattoo that says Tiny Dancer. But to me, that one doesn't really like do anything. But I would say, like, for me personally, when it comes to really large tattoos on the bikini competitors, I'm somebody that is more like against the tattoo actually being displayed. And I would rather try cover up my small one or like the large ones. But that's just because of large tattoos for me tend to kind of muddy into the tan lines, and therefore they don't always show the
definition.
But that's just my opinion, and I don't mind having a different opinion to Christine on this, because at least it shows you what different people kind of think about when it is the different stage look on stage. I think that's really interesting.
And I guess, like you were saying, it perhaps also depends what it is. Is it something tasteful? Is it something that's going to offend anyone? Or
don't get swear words.
No, I mean, I don't want to go into, you know, religious symbols or whatever. But again, it may be that, you know, you don't want to be seen to be favoriting or prejudicing different people because they're openly displaying certain beliefs or thoughts by virtue of having them on their body. So it can be a bit, maybe things like that to take into consideration.
But it is interesting just because, you know, Atila's got a tattoo of a rosary, and I think it's a cross, or maybe it's just a cross on the side of her breastbone. And I think it looks sexy. So that's like my one if I'm going to get one next, but I don't know how I'm going to cover that up. So maybe not, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to move on to the next topic now. And this is really about height. You are short.
Thank you. No, I think in bikini, I'm actually quite average. I always thought I was a short person until I started competing and ended up in class D, which is where, you know, every show there's at least 20 of us. It's the most popular category, D&E. It's right in the middle, apparently. So it's bikini's one for the petite, I think.
So I'm B, so I'm really tiny compared to you. But...
Yeah, I'm 5'3.5".
Okay, so Christine's a little bit taller than me, so that is really interesting. But what I'm going to get to at this point is, do you think it matters if you are a taller competitor on stage within bikini and, let's say, wellness category versus being really tiny? For let's say first for the amateur, and then we can say
for the amateurs, it's quite interesting, I think, because the height categories that they have, I find the very small height categories, A, maybe B, there's very few people that, you know, 5 foot to 5'1", for instance. Then there's a whole raft of people who are kind of 5'3" to 5'6", but then there's a lot of categories A, B, C, D, E, F, and then you get to G, and it's basically everyone over 5'8", and that's like quite a big range. Like there are a lot of ladies who are 5'8", and then there'll be people who are 5'11", and that last category can look quite bizarre. The lower end of the categories, it's literally within an inch, so everyone's very similar. So I'm not sure how they've kind of weighted it such that, you know, A, you get quite small classes, yet G, you can get quite a big group of ladies in there. So maybe they need to move it up a little bit to,
or maybe add more classes into...
more classes, or
That's an interesting theory. What about at pro level? Do you think it matters because at pro level everyone is, you no longer have the height class, and so do you think it's harder to stand out if you're smaller?
Yeah, I think it is hard. Like, say I'm 5'3.5", but I always, people think I'm smaller because I think I've got quite a petite skeleton. I think some people in my class look bigger than me. They're just a bit bigger framed, if you like. It's not always the muscularity on the frame, but I have got a smaller structure, if you like, than some. So people assume I'm probably smaller. And it is harder to stand out sometimes, I think, against people who are quite statuesque on stage. And if you are smaller up against a tall lady, it is sometimes like, are they noticing me? They look impressive. They look more muscular. And they're not on a like-for-like basis. But I think it can be hard.
Yeah, I do think it can be hard as well, being tinier when you're on the comparison round of it. And then it's just, that is really quite something, isn't it? Because you do hope that the judges then look at every single aspect, whether you are small, petite, bone structure, etc. But Maureen is probably your height, being the Miss Bikini Olympia. So it does go to show, like, you can be tiny and still make great leaps and bounds and, you know, win the Olympia even. Because Janet Leuk was, a few years ago, she's what, 5'6",
7,
so
maybe?
she's really
quite
tall.
7, maybe, yeah.
And so it just goes to show that you can be any height. It really just comes down to your structure, I believe, on the day. But when it comes to standing out on stage, do you think there's anything that a smaller, petite competitor can do to stand out? Or do you think it's just about bringing your best?
I think the smaller, kind of bubblier frame is becoming more in vogue at the moment. As you say, with Maureen, she's very much that kind of like thicker, bubblier muscle. And I think sometimes with the taller ladies, not all of them, but it is harder perhaps to have a fuller muscular look. You know, and fashions change, don't they, I think. And if they're looking for very tall and lean, you know, that's great. And some tall people struggle with getting that, you know, full plump muscle look, just because their muscle bellies are so long. You know, people struggle to develop their legs, and, you know, it's not for lack of trying. It's not they haven't got muscularity there. It just doesn't pop the same as if you've got a really, you know, short femur, or, you know, short insertion glutes, you know what I mean, pop out and give you profile. Whereas if you've got longer ones, you know, you might have a good tighten, but not necessarily the profile. So there's pros and cons. But I do think the shorter, more bubblier, poppier kind of look is becoming a lot more popular. So I think you're seeing a lot more shorter girls doing well in the pro league now and amateur level as well.
So if you're shorty, you are fine. It's perfectly fine. Then the next thing I'm going to take it into is just like general accessories, because we do talk about that a lot on here when it comes to posing and other reviews. So I'm going to just take Christine's take. But taboo colors on stage for bikinis. What is your opinion on like the golds, the blacks? Especially the black, because not many people wear that, but it does sometimes make a comeback.
Black. Indiana Paulino, wasn't she? She was very black bikini, but that was kind of an iconic look that she'd rocked for quite a few years. So it's a surprise when you see her not in that. I'm not sure whether I could pull off black, but I'd rather wear black than gold or white or yellow. I'd steer away from anything too pale. The tan can get on it and look yellow or muddy or dirty. My very first show, I tried to rock a gold bikini, I'll be honest. It was my very first colour. No. Not again. Not again.
Never again.
I've done it. Yeah, again, it's just having that contrast with the skin as well. I think it depends on your skin tone. Maybe if you've got a very dark skin, the gold would actually stand out as a contrast. But, you know, if you've got paler white skin like myself, it's not much different on there.
Oh, so yeah, I do kind of tend to agree. I think the more like dual tone color is always the best. And then when it comes to sort of accessories for the bikini girls and stuff, are we liking the idea of many accessories, or is it like bangles? What's just like a quick little?
Yeah, I'd always say get, you know, the earrings, a bangle, maybe one on each arm, perhaps a ring, but I think that's probably it. I don't know what you're seeing much nowadays, but sometimes, yeah, you do have too many excessive bangles, people with rings all over their fingers, or
giant rings.
Yes.
Don't get giant rings.
Well, nobody's looking at your hand, and well, maybe they are now after you've got this giant ring on.
What about the dangling bracelets? Because that was something that there's a beautiful competitor that I can't remember her name now, but she does this dangle thing. That. And I just think that's a bit of a hazard.
I think no.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
You're going to get it caught in something. Or
it's going to flick out into the audience. I can't remember her name, but I remember. Oh, it's beautiful.
I don't know. And I think, you know, like earrings.
What? She's not from Ukraine. She's from Russia. Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen, like, you know, a few other odd things, you know, headbands.
Oh, no.
The kind of tiara-esque headband, which I wouldn't recommend, or hair clip.
Maybe don't go on a tiara.
No. Yeah, I think keep it simple. And I think sometimes earrings, people go a bit OTT as well. Some of them are huge, and I do love a earring. But again, you've got to appreciate, you know, if you're small like me, your neck's only so big, and it does like hit your straps, they'll get tangled in your hair. So having something, again, that's appropriate for your face and actually isn't sitting on your shoulders, things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. I think I used to be like go big or go home a few years ago, and then I sort of changed my mind when I actually had a look at my face shape compared to when you diet down. Don't forget, your face gets skinnier too, and so your cheekbones come out. And if you have giant earrings on, like the size of this Working Hard for My Pro Card Cup by Bombshell, then it's amazingly huge to the size of the face, and believe it or not, it looks really overpowering. And when you get lean and the skeletal vibes are kicking in, it really is not going to be a great look on stage. So rather go slightly smaller than the big things. Yeah. That's what I think. All right, so next taboo topic. It's political, or she wins it because she knows this person. Your opinion? This is the hardest one. I'm so sorry.
It's so hard, isn't it? I mean, the whole difficulty with bikini and really any physique competition is that it's subjective. So in any lineup, there's pros and cons for you know, anyone in the top four. Really, you can see that they could have won or they could have done that better. And it's very rare you see someone who's absolute perfection, and it's which imperfections you forgive more than others. You know, like some judges, you know, it's like absolutely their glutes aren't good enough, but everything else is absolutely amazing. And others, it's, you know, something else. They've got no upper body development or whatever it is. Like everyone's got, unless you're winning the Olympia, nobody's pretty perfect. So the politicalness, it is hard because there are some really like popular girls nowadays. They've got really big Insta followings, big social medias. They are kind of, you know, in it for you know, they are like social media celebrities, really. So you see them backstage and sometimes you get intimidated. Oh God, I know who she is. Everyone knows who she is. Oh, I wonder if the judges do know who they are. I don't know how much they sit there scrolling TikTok or YouTube or whatever. I don't know. And I don't know, I think I have been in a lineup with a couple of people who've been really popular on social media, and I don't think it's helped their placing. I think one time, I think in Poland, a girl won who was like massive on social media, but then she was also clearly the best. So I can't say anything about that.
Do you think with social media, just riding on that point, it's good then for us to be able to display our physiques pre-show? Because some people share our journeys on social media. It's how we connect, but also like, you know, disconnect. Do you think it's wise then for competitors to show that, because a judge might actually see it?
Well, very few people will post a bad picture of themselves. So if the judge sees it, then that's great. So at least they may see your name or see you with an expectation of, oh, this will be good. But then you've got to be careful with that, because they are then more easily let down if you don't live up to your, you know, highly posed or filtered or heaven forbid edited images. So yeah, it can be a letdown, you know, if they think, oh, I'm really excited to see this person, and then they're not as good in person. And sometimes you do see people who are just come out of nowhere in a surprise and, oh, amazing. As far as posting things on social media, I think a lot of people do it for their own accountability. I used to. It's like a scrapbook of my life, and it charters your development. I was always very cautious to kind of, at the nitty-gritty end of competitions, not to stalk. And I really hated it when I found out who was going to be in my lineup. Those messages like, oh, how tall are you? I heard you're competing in this show. I'm like, oh, I'm not. I don't want to know. Because, you know, you're sitting there, don't look at them. You know, oh God, they look great. They've got great shoulders. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It depends why you're posting, I think. And people do get dragged into the comparing. And then this is how you get nervous, because you can only do what you can do. You can't compare. You can't help what other people are doing in their prep. You can't control what they look like. And if you get wound up in that, then you think, oh, well, I need to pose this way because they'll be posing that way. And it's just not natural to how you flow.
You know, that is quite difficult. So like, for example, myself and Giles, we do critique, but it's only because we love bodybuilding so much. So it's one of our things to do. And my sort of long-term goal is to become a judge. So I do really inspect you all, in the most polite way of saying that, because for me it's such a pleasure to be able to do that. And
I am a fan of the sport. Like, I like watching the shows, and I do have an opinion on different people's physiques, but I think it's just the shows you are in. I'd rather just turn up, and this is one of the reasons I used to love going abroad, because you just never knew who was going to be there. You know, you might know one or two people from the UK, but predominantly it'd be people you've never heard of from overseas. You've got no worries about them, because you literally don't know till the day. And I try to keep myself to myself on the day as well. So sometimes like, oh, backstage, oh wow, they're better than I thought. But yeah, that was one of the reasons I like going away, a sense of anonymity, that you could just show up and nobody had expectations of you either. There wasn't people in the audience thinking, oh, you know, will she do well this week or whatever. I kind of like just going away and doing my business in quiet.
Side question to this, not a taboo or a stage myth to debunk, but what was one of your favorite international shows that you've been to? I really enjoyed, I've competed in Poland twice. I really enjoyed that show. They're a great set of promoters out there. They really look after you. Great setup backstage. Everything's super organized, but it's not like a super massive show. Well, it wasn't the ones I did. So, you know, you did still get time with the judges after the show and could collect your feedback. I think some of the ones that were really impressive, like I did Romania, really enjoyed that. That was huge show, a lot of competitors. But again, things just like, you know, the flow of the show runs on. There's so many competitors. I actually just never got any feedback from that show because you just couldn't get it on the day. I'm sure they have 1 million people emailing in. I didn't get a response. So it's like, you know, you go all that way and compete with like some of the best people and then can't really take a lot from it. But the actual experience and the stage and some of the productions are just wild. Yes.
The best stage ever is Lisbon.
Oh, the Portugal
show. That casino is unreal.
I didn't know that you competed there.
I've done it twice, in 2018 and 2019. I was the pioneer from the UK. I think the first one in 2018 I went to Lisbon,
You felt like you were on James Bond.
That's amazing.
Oh my
I felt like
gosh.
Beyonce because you come out of the stage, like you come out
Oh.
on a hydraulic lift. And from being an amateur, you know, you're competing in some sports hall or something, and then you go to Lisbon and they queue you up backstage and you go on this hydraulic lift and everywhere's like goes dark and the lights are all flashing, and then you come up, and honestly it felt like you literally Beyonce. So
That's amazing.
that's just like a sick experience. If anyone gets the chance to compete on that stage, it's absolutely incredible.
I have to say, I've watched that show, both the amateur and the pro, and it is absolutely incredible. So I'm really happy for you. I got to say, it's on my bucket list of shows. So that will be something we should compete together and go there together. We should do that. If anybody wants to come with, we're going to set up a thing.
Yeah, we can organize a trip. That's
and
fine.
Christine has all the travel deals. So
Yeah,
this is perfect.
Expert. Yeah, I love traveling. That's probably one of the reasons I've competed for so long and in so many places, because I can combine my two passions really.
But we'll
And
get into that.
And it's a great reward if you don't win. At least you've got a nice day on the beach or a bit of sightseeing to do. It makes it a lot easier than driving back for 3 hours from Minehead or something. So Maidenhead or wherever.
Oh Lord,
Yeah,
please no.
wherever all the shows are. It's a long way away, that's all I know. And if you haven't done very well and you just sat in a car being miserable for 3 hours, it's far better abroad, you know. Get a sangria and have a nice day sightseeing the next day. A little bit of a reward.
Sangria.
It makes it all a lot more worthwhile.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's do that. Well, then on to something else. Okay, so I've got a couple more topics before we wrap it up, because we've got something else planned. Okay, so this is going to be like the most hardest one, and I'm going to just throw it out there to Christine and see what she's going to say. But do you think that you have to take performance-enhancing drugs, otherwise known as PEDs, to become a successful bikini competitor as an amateur?
No.
Yes. I think yes. I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they're undoubtedly becoming more prevalent and more popular. And it's, you know, the competitiveness and I guess what's at stake. You know, everyone wants the pro card. Everyone's willing to do a little bit more than they were in the past, when it was, you know, maybe a personal challenge. They want to get on stage. They want a transformation, whatever. Now people take this really, really seriously. So
Yeah.
a lot more people are willing to go that extra length. And, you know, the development of the sport as well, in terms of, you know, the muscularity, the condition, as I've said, over the last 5 years has got like a lot different. So, you know, that isn't, to be honest, achievable for everyone naturally, but it is achievable for a lot of people naturally. So it's a personal preference.
Yeah.
It can be done without, but I think it also depends on, you know, your natural structure, genetics, how.
I think also like what point you start and how long you've been training for,
Yeah.
it will count towards that too.
Yeah, and I think sometimes today people are a little bit impatient.
Yes.
Like it was always something I really wanted to do, is just see how far I could get unassisted, and like what actually can you do. And I think a lot of people are very quick to, you know, not want to take 2 or 3 years and progress and take the time and take the long off seasons and what have you. And it's like, you know, they want their instant, I want my pro card within the first year of competing type of thing.
Yes. And you know, that does happen. Some people do get pro cards pretty much in their first show. I've seen it happen 3 times now on all European shows, once in Sweden, twice in Spain. And it has been absolutely fantastic to see that happens. But for me personally, when I see sort of the standard now and sort of where we are going, I do think that the pool of athletes is now sort of relying upon it a little bit. And I do think that coaches push it. I'm going to just be honest with you. If you're a coach that does, I don't mean any disrespect or anything, but it is just one of those things that, you know, I do see happening. You can ask any sort of athlete at a gym. And here's the bottom line of it for me personally. Unless you are competing in a natural federation where you're getting tested, you need to expect that you're going to be competing against athletes that are going to be assisted, or at least to some extent on something, whether it is just, in my opinion, like yohimbine or something, you know, that is ultra, not even
Do you
anything.
want to say mild? Or?
They're like extremely mild, but the problem is that like if you got drug tested with that at a natural show, you would be kicked out instantly, because it is. But so that's why I laugh at that, because for me, I just sort of see it and I look at it and I'm like, okay, well,
And it's definitely
I'm so sorry.
It's definitely a spectrum as well, isn't it? Like you say, like people think, oh, assisted, you're on XYZ, was actually might be something not so much, or it might be, you know, just the last week somebody's taken one diuretic. They would not be able to compete in a natural federation.
No.
And yet they're not on steroids or whatever. There is such a spectrum to it as well. And it's what people are willing to do. I think too many people are willing to do everything though, not just what is necessary. You know, it might be like one facet, you know, like I never really had a problem getting lean. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I need to get the clen in like straight away. That wasn't an issue. But, you know, then there are discussions like, well, you've been training for like 6 years. Are you really going to put on that much more muscle? Or other people, you know, it's can you get tight enough on the day? And everyone has a different issue. But I think people just think everyone's on absolutely everything. And I think sometimes it is. I think it is very prevalent, but I don't think there's as many people like abuse it as they think. You know, people are more health conscious nowadays as well, so there is more testing, and people are like, you know, they'll cycle on and off and things. They're not just going berserk with no education in it.
I hope that people do look more into it, and there are topics like a lot more than what we can provide in terms of the educational resource. But I think something that you also touched on, you said that now it does appear like everybody wants it now. So I'm just going to give out a throw-out example. If, say for example, I know this one girl, she's been training for 2 years. She's done her first season. She's now taken an off season. She's on Primo, Anabolic Clen, and a couple of other items, but this would technically be her third ever year. So it's like, well, have you trained enough? And she's quite young. So do take into consideration the idea of what you're putting in, but also like how far you're going to get. And this is why I personally think, like, do you need it to become successful? Well, if everyone else is taking it, I don't want to say you should be taking it, but I do think that you need to be realistic, look at the time frame of how long you've been training for, like you said, and just take it one step at a time. Yeah, it's something to be weighed up, isn't it? I mean, there's pros and cons of everything. And it's just hard to know kind of what is the right decision. Like, and as you said, you know that if you're in 99% of federations, you're competing against people who may or more than likely are doing something. So are you happy with coming second or third? And you always have that what if, you know, oh, if I was like that extra 3% better, I'm not far off, you know, and it is very, very difficult for people nowadays. It does really pain me, actually, especially if I see like a nice natural female that's actually turned pro, and now she's got to, you know, level up, so to speak. And but if it is your choice though to stay natural and it is doable, then you can't actually be bitter about it, because you've chosen to compete in that sport and those are the rules you're abiding by. So you can't go around dogging other competitors, or, you know, saying whatever you want to say about them, because that's your choice to be natural and that is their choice not to be, and you could both compete in the same competition under the same rules. So they could turn around and go, well, you're an idiot, you can't complain not losing, why haven't you done, you know, XYZ? I agree. So if whether you're like a hashtag natty or not, just like be respectful of all, and just know that you are just do what is right for you and for what is right for you at this point in your journey, because you really don't want to get to like 10 years down the line and not be able to do certain things because maybe you didn't consider the consequences of being able to go forward. You didn't consider the consequences of maybe what you took from like 10 years ago, if that makes sense. So just take everything into consideration, do educate yourself and make the smart choice, please. And then I think that is pretty much everything, apart from one other thing. Okay. I wish I'd saved the last thing for the last thing, but this is the last thing now. And this is, do you think like competing in other federations, I'm not going to name the federation, but do you think it would hurt your chances of becoming a pro? Because we know in NPC, once you're in, you're sort of locked in for life. So if you compete elsewhere, you do lose the pro card. But before you get the pro card, do you think it hurts your chances of becoming or turning pro if, say, you, for example, you go to other beauty federations? That is a tricky one. I think, like I was saying earlier, the majority of judges that come to do the shows, they come from all over the world and they really don't know who you are.
99% of the time. So they probably don't know that you've done this or that or the other and don't care. And on the day, that's fine. I think maybe some of the promoters are very keen to get a customer base, if you like, of clients that just want to do their shows, and maybe portrayed that, you know, it's in your interest to stick with us. Does it matter or not? I just don't know.
I don't know if it matters as much now as it did a couple of years ago pre-split, because now we've got a lot of major competitors transferring over from other federations. Like, for example, Michael Crizo, he transferred from other fed into like the MPC, and look where he is at. I mean, this guy is like the Hulk, but from, where's he from? Slovakia. So my gosh. And then you've got like other female competitors that are also transferring, and it is interesting to see sort of like the ladies and the gents that are coming over from this particular federation in. So I don't think it necessarily hurts. If anything, I think it actually bolsters their sort of into the MPC if they are a pro, and then they're having to get pro, but it probably puts a lot of pressure on them. That's what I'm going to say. Like, the pressure must be absolutely unbelievable. So good luck.
And I think the criteria is quite different when you look at the shows as well.
Ooh,
there's
flies in your face.
in my eye.
Oh my gosh, we got to get flies on.
Oh.
Giles, get away.
Hope it's not my perfume. Anyway, the look is quite different. So it must be hard for people who've, you know, been really successful in one, and you probably do think, you know, oh, well, you know, I'll just rock up and get this pro card. Or I've got a good chance of getting it because I've been kind of so successful, undefeated in this. But it is a very different look. So
I would just say, like, more, I inquired with a coach last year, actually, not Adam. I actually did also inquire with Adam, but didn't go. And this was a different coach. And I did ask him, you know, I love doing model federations because for me, the performance side of it is more theatrical for certain federations than I can get with MPC. And sometimes I like to be able to perform, and I would like to be able to do that before I really push for other stuff. And it's just because it's my background, right? Yeah. So for me, he said, in particular, there is an XYZ federation that he would stay away from because of the association with the MPC, and therefore you should, you know, just give it a bit of a break. So I do think, DM me personally if you want that. So I won't say it on here in case we get sued or something. But it is something just to consider. Sometimes you do need to do your research within the federations just to understand them a little bit more, and just understand the history of the federation before you join it, because I find also a lot of competitors that join MPC, or at least the new ladies that, you know, they want the pro card, but they don't know the history of bodybuilding or like,
are they a fan of the sport? Like, do they know the sport?
For example, what is a Sandow trophy kind of thing? Like, do you know this stuff? Is this what you really want? Because if you're entering it in, you should, this becomes like a career if you're a professional, like that's what you are working towards. So do make sure that you understand what it is you're kind of working towards.
I mean, I think some people as well, I think it depends if you are wanting to do just like all sorts of different shows in one season and different federations. That can be difficult, as I say, because there's different looks to aim for. So how are you going to hit every one that they want in, you know, turn up one week looking like that, turn up one week looking like that. But I think a lot of people, you know, they'll get to kind of the ceiling in a federation and want a different challenge. Like I won the PCA in 2018 and I love competing there, but then it's like well, what do I do now? Go back next year and not win the British and be disappointed I've lost the title. I'll move on and do something else. So it's like, you know, now I'll try MPC, or now I'll try this or that. And a lot of people just, you know, stick to one and then think, right, I've done what I can with that and I'll move on, or that wasn't for me, or that look wasn't for me, but I've tried it and now I'll move on. I think it is difficult to mix and match all at the same time.
Yeah, the look is different. So it is something, but that's why, again, just research your federations and before you go into it, especially with the MPC, if you're looking to stick with it, there are some sort of crossovers here in the UK that you could do in the interim. But like Christina is saying, it is quite difficult to mix and match with all of them. Do you know that there is now a class, that is called the Bikini Wellness class?
No.
And it's in pure lead.
Is it?
Yes.
Is that like half and half? Like what does that mean?
Like in certain places here, there is now what is known as a Bikini Wellness class. I think I vouched for this like a few years ago, and now I don't understand it, having said that they're like, you should bring it in, like the half and half. So there is such a thing. Oh, I don't know how that's going to work. Like, it's like, how
or is it just the name of wellness?
No, it's Bikini Wellness in between. And the lady on Instagram won it. I'll show you it later. But this is a thing. Like, there's a category for everyone at the moment. So there we go. So you guys, that is sort of like debunking stage myths. We got a bit off topic there, but I just want to say thank you to Foxy for coming on. And where can people find you?
All over.
Yes,
I'm on Instagram. Unfortunately, my handle on Instagram is still Fanny_Fox. Meh. It's a long-standing name from when I had about 200 followers. I had no interest in fitness, and my actual name of Christine Fox had gone. And then I found a shop in Ibiza called Fanny Fox, and my mate liked to insult me a lot and call me that. So I just stuck the name stuck. But people think that is my genuine name now.
I've never known that story.
I can remember going to Portugal, and a guy like saw me in a subway. He's like, "Oh, it's Fanny." I was like, "Yes. Are you okay?" Yeah. So yeah.
Can we just bring your Instagram up and also do 2 shout outs?
I need to change it, but you know what I mean. It's gone on too long now. It's
I've never known that story.
It's not even an interesting story. It's just there, isn't it? And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. People think it's my real name.
I thought it was your real name.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it is a genuine Old English name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you want to find Christine on Instagram.
I can't believe this episode's going to get aired. Why have you done this to me?
So you guys, if you want to find Christine, follow her at Fanny_Fox_meh.
Yes. Although I haven't been competing recently, I'm actually taking this year off. So most of my recent pictures are my holiday snaps. But yeah, if you scroll down, there are a few back in the day gym ones and competing.
Nice
yeah, that's from where's that from? Rome, I think. Yep.
I remember this one.
Yeah. I did Rome, Romania, Vienna. I loved going to Vienna last year. Poland. Oh, all sorts. Yeah.
Some good photos.
Thank you.
So yeah.
That's
where you can find Christine on, or I like to call Christine Foxy because I could never call you Fanny. And so
Fox
I'm just going to call you Foxy.
Yeah. That is my real name. My surname is Fox. That is.
So this is what I call Foxy.
Correct. Yes.
And then before we head out, we're going to do a shout out each. So who do you want to shout out in relation to this?
Yeah. So I'm going to shout out Evie Skandar, because we were talking about kind of height and things earlier, and she is a super petite lady, but she has got an absolutely fantastic physique and is doing so well at the moment. I absolutely love her stage presence as well. But, you know, she has got that, you know, bubbly, poppy, cute little vibe going on, but she's absolutely tiny, and she's pulling it out the bag against these gargantuan tall ladies in the pro league. So, you know, if people think it can't be done, she is one to watch as about how to stand out. I mean, her show presentation and presence is absolutely fantastic, and that is how she stands out as a smaller lady on stage.
Yeah, that looks amazing. I like the spin, but only on the pro level.
Super sass levels 1000.
So yeah, that's Miss Evie, and then I have gone for Anya Nicholson, the Bombshell. The reason why I went for this lady, if I can get to her, is maybe you can just talk through it while I do this. Yeah, so
we were talking about Anya earlier, and she is a lady who's got tattoos. She's got full sleeve tattoos, which she absolutely rocks. She's also fully blonde. She did have a period with brunette hair, and I think she maybe turned pro and then went brunette, or went brunette to turn pro, but went back to her platinum blonde roots. And she's got like a really iconic look on stage, I think, you know, the blonde and the tattoos. I don't think that's harming her at all.
No, and I think also she's somebody that's sort of climbing the ranks, as they say, so to speak, because sometimes like you can turn pro, and we do have a lot of pros turning pro, or people turning pro, But it's then like a case of getting yourself seen and then getting yourself seen again and again.
You start at the bottom again, don't you? You know, everyone thinks this goal is the pro league, and then when you get there, you're the bottom of the pile. Do you know what I mean? You've got to work your way right back up again. So it is a lot of grit people have to put in after they turn pro. It's by no means kind of an easy ride, and you've made it, because that league is no joke.
Yeah, and I really like Nicole's work ethic, and I think she's somebody that with, say, for example, the sleeve tattoo, it has been really interesting because it kind of works for her, and she works with the blonde hair really well. So that is my shout out. And yeah, she doesn't seem to cover it, so that's okay. But for now, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all of your lovely comments. If you please go follow Fanny Foxbear on Instagram. Make sure to go follow Muscular Development, and please subscribe to the channel. Make sure to go pick up your copy of Muscular Development. Not this issue because it's old, but it does have. Is it?
Brand new.
Is this new? We have a female on the front.
2 years ago.
No way. Are you serious? Hey, so, okay, go pick up the new issue with Dana Lynn Bailey on the front, okay, because this is new. We don't have many females on the cover, so usually I kind of think, like, if we see a female, I'm thinking that it's a really old issue, but this is new, so this is her second cover.
Mm-hmm.
Have you sent this to Dana?
Probably.
You must send this to Dana. Please, Jen. All right, so you guys, make sure to go pick it up, and make sure to go. This is amazing. See, like, I wish we could have more females on the cover. Yes, if you like this video, please make sure to comment down below with who you want to see on the cover, and let's see if we can get them on, okay? So thank you so much. Foxy, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
And you guys, we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.